Chilanga conversing.
How you doing, everybody? Welcome back to Chilanga Converses. Back with another freestyle segment with your host. I'm Mr. Pars, or you can call me Sunday.
I'm Alundu, aka the Kingpin.
Yeah, and we got a whole bunch of topics which were requested by our fellow listeners. And first of all, I'd like to shout out everybody who listens, who requests. You're really supporting us by getting involved in the discussion. So let's kickstart it off and keep it going.
Yeah. Also, shout out to everybody who's liking the page, everybody who is showing support, page views, watching it. It's much appreciated to know something can grow.
And of course, you are always welcome to email us, message us on Facebook, so we can get your feedback. Yeah, every little contribution helps.
Get in touch.
All right, so I guess let's kickstart this off with a topic coming from Audrey in Birmingham, United Kingdom. She would like us to discuss the issue of China, I guess, low-key taking over Africa. Yeah, I guess a lot of people have theorized that China is pretty much making a play to take over Africa because they're getting everybody, invested in these loans that they give out, which they would provide with conditions where they would have to do work for them, like developing roads and everything. So they not only get paid from the work that they do, but they also get all their money back plus interest. And this has kept a lot of African countries indebted to them almost indefinitely.
The thing is, like, a Chinese investor will come into the country and they're going to have the money which will qualify them for incentives, because you're looking at a threshold of $500,000. Now you tell me, a Zambian startup, how long would they have to work for to reach that threshold? And even before coronavirus started, there was all this talk about, Chinese foreign policy. They're expanding into other regions, Jamaica. You remember the interview, the YouTube interview, the doctor who spoke about it. Yes, also talked about racism and things like that. I mean, at one point they were saying that Zambia is a province of China. Yeah. Truth be told, I guess maybe some of the assertions are true, because China is set to surpass the United States as the world's largest economy by 2028.
And the crazy thing is that China has pretty much everything you need, don't they? They have the workforce they can provide you with.
The cheap labor.
I guess you could even argue that they have more affordable material. As opposed to us going to the US and trying to get material from them. They charge you a lot, and the way that dollar is looking to us, we can't really afford it. And the Chinese have, I guess they started early with Africa, and they've been here for a long time. They've also done the work in building those relationships with our leaders, whatever they can, whether it's military stuff. They'll always provide cheap stuff for us. I guess even Russia has always been there for us like that. So, in a way, could this be a way you could blame Western countries for not seeing the potential value in investing in Africa?
I'll tell you this. you read from lots of scholars about the agenda to perpetuate underdevelopment, especially in sub-Saharan Africa. So they'll look at multinational corporations as representing the countries that they come from and representing their interests in furthering their own revenue collection, in furthering their own boosting of their profits and stuff like that. So here comes along the Asians, right? And what they do is they offer loans with flexible payback periods.
Yeah.
And they offer to upgrade infrastructure. They're more likely to be closer associates with developing countries in sub-Saharan Africa, knowing what those countries know, that with the Western world, sure, bilateral relations can be good, but there's
that mistrust.
There is. I
hadn't really considered that, but it's one of those things where we're all living together, but we are sort of wary of each other. Yeah.
Yes, you are, because let's face it, everybody has to feed mouth. Yes, and the major way that you can do that is with the dominant presence in the international sphere. That's how it is. And about China, they're categorized as a developing country, which is advantageous to them because it allows them to negotiate trade agreements which are in their favor. The tariffs that will be imposed on their goods, the subsidies that they receive, that they can put in place, make it more friendlier for them to trade internationally. So the kickbacks are amazing.
I can only imagine, because the amount of constant investment that they keep putting in. How is it still classified as a developing country at this point? You can
exactly,
especially since so many they pretty much supply everybody, and they don't supply everyone with natural resources. It's man-made stuff.
You think to yourself, our neighboring countries are developing countries, and look at the sheer scale of the economies between the two countries. One pales in comparison to the other. So how is that justified? But all in all, it helps them because they can further their agenda,
Okay. And there's always that whole, I guess, I don't know if it's, let's just say it's a rumor about the way they distribute products. They say there's like 3 tiers, right, of quality that they send people in terms of products. They send you that really strong, durable stuff. Then they send you something which is okay but won't last as long. Then they send you the really cheap stuff.
You notice in the market also how many knockoffs that you have, and you see that they're all made from China. For example, let's look at Bluetooth speakers.
Oh, yeah,
right?
Definitely. The way those have spread here. And it used to be impossible to get a Bluetooth speaker because Beats, how much are you buying a Beats Bluetooth speaker for?
Yeah.
But now everywhere you go, or where you just are here, there'll be a group of kids and they'll have a Bluetooth speaker, and it's not legit because there is crazy distortion coming through it.
So about the topic request, I would have to say this: if China is taking over Africa, how they're going to do it is not going to be overt. Like we won't go into the central business district and see the post office has been rebranded in the Chinese alphabet. No, it would be through the economy.
Yeah, and what's even scarier is that because we'd be so heavily indebted to them, that how they could be running that country or whatever country there is in Africa is through telling our leaders what to do. And you'd never see that they're pulling the strings.
They do say the golden rule is he with all the gold controls the rules. You know,
Yeah,
and
don't they have a golden city in China as well? Really on top of that metaphor.
Yeah.
Okay, the reason I brought up all those knockoffs and quality of products is because, sure, you can hear about Bluetooth speakers being one thing, USB cables, whatever, but they also make cars. They make car replicas, so you can buy a BMW, which is not a BMW. It just looks like it, but it's not the same thing. And taking it like 10 steps further, there's the Chinese vaccine. Yeah, I believe you've heard about this, where the vaccine isn't actually effective. It's like 50% effective to what it should be.
It's funny how in Wuhan life has gone back to normal. You know, for instance, people were reveling in night spots at the epicenter of the pandemic.
And they went back to normal quite a long time ago, didn't they? It's been months. They've been good.
Yes. Like markets that sold pangolins, like which is what is thought to have caused the coronavirus in the first place, are open. You know, people are buying bats and pangolins, and
They're not wearing those masks, or are they wearing masks?
well, who knows?
It's okay. A little bit of a side topic. How effective is this mask thing?
Yes. You know,
I mean,
like, let's
up?
be real. You know, it's a cloth that is covering your nose and your mouth.
It's got holes.
Cloth,
It's got holes.
right?
And things stick to it.
I could understand the medical grade masks. You know, the blue ones. Yeah, I could understand those, but we're talking about just cotton, ordinary cotton, and somebody just patches it up and you put it on your face and you're supposed to be protected.
It's like, could you tear a square out of your t-shirt and cover your face with it, and it would protect you from a life-threatening illness?
I guess so. Because, I mean, people wearing scarves around their nose, you know, so... Bandanas as well, you know, so... Who knows? Maybe, I think it reduces the likelihood of you contracting the virus. You know?
Something covering your face.
Something covering your face, yes. Probably maybe 60%.
You know, I was always skeptical about the whole you cover your face and you go into this central business district of Lusaka, and this disease, which is airborne, basically you walk past somebody who has it and you're supposed to get it, right? That is the theory, if you can say.
Or if you touch them.
Yeah, or if you touch them. But you know, how many people do you really touch? You walk by them mostly, right? We were for let's say the majority of 2020 here in Lusaka, Zambia. I can't speak on behalf of everybody else, but there were hardly any cases being brought up. Like, hardly anybody was contracting this disease, right? And you'd think, because the CBD has been open this whole time, everybody keeps going back and forth through it, coming into contact with so many people, and everything was good. But when it mutated, now everybody's getting sick. So I'm a bit baffled as to that.
Well, the news reports say that the mutation it's deadlier than the first virus because there's more of a chance that you could get it. It is highly contagious. As contagious as coronavirus was, this variant is even more contagious. So I guess that's why. But what has baffled me is that in certain places where you'd expect the virus to emerge, like local transportation stations, for instance.
Just the buses themselves are like an incubation kind of thing.
Yes. So how come there hasn't been a case that has been reported in the transportation sector? That's all that's baffled me.
Then there's the whole how it came up in the first place, the mutation.
Yeah.
Couldn't scientists? Okay, maybe I'm placing a bit too much faith in scientists, but thinking that they had enough, what can I say, samples of the coronavirus, and studying it for the longest time that they have, they didn't report or see any way that this thing could mutate. Yeah, because don't they analyze like the nucleus of the cells and everything to see how they basically adapt to what they infect?
And if you think about it now, a war is being fought on two fronts because you're fighting coronavirus and then you're fighting the variant. So if you have to find a vaccine, you have to find a vaccine for both.
And I don't think there's any way of if they distinguish which corona you have exactly, because isn't the test still the same? They put the thing up your nose, the swab, and it will detect positive or negative, right? It's not like they have time to actually, or don't they? It takes like 2 or 3 days, doesn't it?
Yeah, I guess with regards testing, if you have either the virus, the variant, or the virus, that's easy enough. But then the treatment, from that point moving forward, what happens next? Of course they'll do what they have to. They'll isolate you and all of that. But then if you want to get a lasting solution for this person, a cure, yes, like that is where I think challenges might be faced.
But if Wuhan has managed, back to this Chinese vaccine, why can't we just get what Wuhan got? Because whatever Wuhan managed to distribute amongst its populace, it has solved the issue. Now,
if you look closely at global events, I think people need to wake up to the fact that, there's something bigger that's happening. Like coronavirus couldn't have just come from nowhere, obviously, but
apparently it's been there for the longest time. But
then,
it just evolved.
But then look at what it has done. The damage that has ensued economically, the toll on human life and all of that. It's a very peculiar thing. Granted, there have been pandemics in the past, like the Spanish flu of 1919, but I think people need to be worried, especially that we do not know what the motives are of I do not want to say anybody in particular, but I'm just saying that the Chinese authorities denied WHO staff, World Health Organization staff, entry into China to go to Wuhan for them to investigate what happened, basically, how the virus began and all of that. It was only after a while that they got let in, you know, and that raises a lot of questions, you know. Perhaps maybe they were buying time to but hey, don't quote me on this.
It's just we are exploring possibilities here as to how this surprise pandemic happened. Because if you go for the conspiracy theorists who say that it was man-made, possibly people in China with the help of America did this, then I guess you could only assume that it wasn't doing the job it was supposed to do, so they created a variant to it to get the desired results.
It's like it's like elevating the level of, basically it's like turning it up a notch, you know. Yes, before everybody was rushing and struggling to contain the situation, but then something comes along that aggravates things to an even greater extent, you know, that it intensifies all the rushing, all the efforts that people were doing before, you know, everything that they had to do. So it's now things have gone to a whole different level.
And what I also wonder is it the same variant? It mutated, like, because a lot of countries have been on lockdown, and let's say it gets mutated somewhere in the world, and then in another part of the world it gets mutated there. So how is it mutating the exact same way in different parts of the world? Or are the mutations different? Are there differences between them? Because there's no way with, like, it can change like that in the exact same way in different parts of the world, because there's so many factors to consider.
Also, you have a vetting process that happens before you travel.
Oh yeah, okay.
You know, so you need to take the test 3 days before you board. That shows that you're negative. Your coronavirus test should be negative, right? So that is a process you must undergo before you fly. So how is it then that all the processes missed out these people who could have had coronavirus and traveled to different locations, you know, carried the virus there?
The mutation,
you know. So it's just curious. It's curious to me. So maybe we're in an age of biological warfare.
All right. I guess we could have an entire discussion on this one topic, but I guess we can conclude this with, what is the intention behind this Chinese vaccine?
Well,
we're only speculating, by the way. It's not like we have Chinese contacts.
Well, what is the intention behind any vaccine, really? You know, it's to be a cure. So I guess.
Are you sure that's the intention? Because it's looking like profit is the intention.
Supply and demand. Yeah. Maybe what I would ask myself is whether I would trust the vaccine.
You know, as much as we are threatened by so many different things in our lives, at the end of the day, it's our own responsibility to analyze and to look at things objectively, as we try and do on this show. Like, we need to analyze the vaccine that we are getting. So we need our own labs. We need our leaders to negotiate the best way they can to ensure the safety of the people. So we can't just go carry on with the usual routine of trusting everyone who comes with good intentions. You know, we've got this cure for you. We got this for you. We got this.
We can't be laid back about this one particular issue.
Yeah, like why are they coming to us with this?
There has to be transparency, and people need to be involved in this process. If possible, have independent entities verify or authenticate the virus before it can come and be given to people.
Okay, moving on. Our next topic, it comes from Hader in Bradford, United Kingdom. I've always wondered about this topic myself, and I'm glad somebody finally asked it. Why school doesn't teach you about money? They don't teach you about the real life skills and hurdles you'll need to get through life. You know, money.
Yep.
They don't teach you about after you leave school, after you leave your mother's place. There's rent. You have to budget. You have to know how much you'll need at the end of the month. You need these simple things that you hear entrepreneurs on YouTube talking about, where they're like, put some money away for emergency, put some money for like living expenses, put some money to invest so that you can have more money at the end of the day, and don't just rely on your 9 to 5. Why shouldn't this be a part of the foundation of education?
If you expand the scope of that question, and say, why doesn't school teach us about life in general? Because I feel school in a way insulates an individual from what they're going to face out there in life, Yeah.
It's sort of like, no, if they know this, they're not. They're going to lose hope like right now.
Like number 22 in Soul.
Yeah.
Anyway, I guess a lot of faith and trust is put into the education system, that as one is being instructed on various things, they're going to progress and they'll reach a point where they will learn about exactly how it is that you're supposed to manage your money. But then also, people need to take initiative and find out things for themselves.
Yes, this is true. Yes, I can agree with that. Life is, education is a personal journey. But at the same time, I don't think these are the sort of things you should experience firsthand. That firsthand experience where you end up in debt and you don't know what to do, and you possibly lose your car or your house because you were never taught how to manage money efficiently. If anything, I'd rather learn about budgeting and money and how to grow my wealth in the classroom first of all, and then possibly in my life learn about geography through first-hand experience. Rain. Okay, I get that. Nice.
Volcano.
Luckily, I bought an umbrella So this won't really be an issue. I feel like it's too important to leave to someone's own life experience.
Wealth creation. How would that sound for the name of the class?
Wealth creation. I just call it money management.
Money management. All right.
Because
that's all right.
If you think back to the days when you were in school and you were given like a little money by your mom to buy a snack or something, like you thought the money would never end. No one looked at you and said at school and said, rather than buying a sweet with that money, why not buy the sweet, sell it for a markup, and then buy another sweet and keep doing that until you can have 2 sweets and 4 sweets, and then you'd be able to have all the sweets you want and be making more money for more sweets. I believe it's something a child could understand, because in like developed nations like America, you'd hear about little girls like making lemonade and setting up those lemonade stands.
Little boys taking paper routes,
cutting grass. Because if you think about it, I don't want to sound offensive to anybody in Zambia, but if you were probably doing that as a child part-time, you would know how to avoid doing it as a grown-up full-time.
But I think you have given the answer right there in what you said, because you said the mom would tell the kid, do this with your money. So I think
the teacher would. The mom would just give the kids
okay. I think the expectation is that it's the role of the mom, the family, to teach kids about money, basically. Yes, that's how I see it. So maybe
it's the role of the parents?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what you may not have looked at is the fact that a lot of people don't have both parents in the household, or quite a number of people don't have parents at all.
Okay.
And in those like little niche categories, there's people who are taken in by relatives just because they lost their own parents, and those relatives don't like them at all. So don't you need a neutral figure to be able to give this information in a way that can help the child as best as they can, as opposed to somebody who has emotional investment?
Maybe that right there is an opportunity.
Oh, they do say life is full of them.
How do you like making a living off talking about money?
And that's what a lot of people are doing. And I feel like it's sort of distorted that good information coming through from that bad information coming through. Because I can take myself for example, right? I would go onto YouTube because there's so many channels telling you how to make money off the internet, and you know how salesmen are. They're very upbeat, very positive. They make everything sound so simple. They even walk you through it step by step in the video. But you try and do it yourself, and I've tried a lot of them, and you find it's not happening. And in Zambia, it's very hard to make money online. Not saying that you shouldn't try, but it is very difficult, because you find that even when it comes to getting paid, there's no way for them to send you that money. because you need a PayPal account. Now, for those of you who haven't tried to use a PayPal account in Africa, in Zambia in particular, you can't do it.
You can't do it?
You can't do it. All you can do is you can make a PayPal account and you can spend your money. Link that PayPal account to your bank account. You can spend your money. You can purchase stuff on eBay. But when it comes to you receiving money, you're not allowed to. So it's quite difficult. So there's a lot of information about making money, but everybody is trying to gain something. You know, they want you to view the video. They want you to visit their web page, so they have those clicks to look at on their Google Analytics, so that they have, you know, substantial data to be able to offer a company and say, look at how many people visit our page, advertise with us, and then, you know, give us this amount to advertise on our page. Or you often find that it's a review of a money-making system, but they are actually trying to sell you a product in which they have an affiliate link for. Meaning if you buy the product through their link, they get paid. So it's not for you. So shouldn't it be in the hands of an official body?
I guess so. But then again, who knows, really? Who knows? I mean, if anything, think about it. What would weigh more in terms of, okay, I'll use this phrase, educational value, you know? Considering that this person needs to earn a living and the need to have a career for them to do so, and for you to have a career, that means you need to have a specialty, a field that you are familiar, you know, conversant with. So in terms of actual knowledge, you know, perhaps maybe learning about money is something that somebody is bound to find along the way. They will have some money, they will learn how to manage it. But if you're talking about, you know, calculus, for instance, you know, it's something which an individual might not learn to the fullest extent, you know, like in terms of a satisfactory level of understanding of calculus. They would not achieve that on their own. So I guess the system is betraying us on this one. You know, it's like an argument can be made for and against it.
Okay, as always, my focus goes back to where we are. Sorry for everybody around the world, but I look at where we are. Their employment is practically impossible to get. It's a developing country. So when there is employment, opportunities are very few. So you find that the majority of the country has to have side hustles. I don't think there's a Zambian alive in this country who isn't trying to run something on the side. And I don't mean like illegally. I just mean they are leveraging whatever resources they can get a hold of to earn an extra income. Whether it's you run one of those talk time selling things at your house, and maybe you leave your one of your children there, and then you go to work, knowing that there'll be that little extra something for the household. So I believe teaching skills like that, as opposed to letting people figure it out on their own, would be highly beneficial to developing countries, especially considering just what I've explained is something basic, right? Get something for a lower price, sell it for a higher price. It's like that kid in that sweet example. But there's also risk-reward ratios. You know, why should I spend so much of my time to get something so small? Like, you're an adult, right? You go, you buy some sweets. Right? You want to buy sweets, and sure, you are doing what I talked about. You buy sweets, you sell them for a higher price, you get a little bit more profit. But in the time that it took you to do that, you have bills. And those bills are just laughing at that sweet little business that you have. So there's also how you do it. If people knew how to be more efficient with leveraging their side hustles, they could live a lot more comfortable life.
Okay, so I have a question. So you advocate for teaching money management and skills?
Yeah.
In schools, right?
Yes.
So at what level of school would you want this to be taught? You know? Are we talking high school, secondary, primary, tertiary? Where?
Okay, this is just me throwing what I think might work. I would say at the beginning of secondary school.
Okay.
Because you are basically a young adult at that point. I don't know if you ever heard that the term teenager came like the 1960s or something like that. But before then, you'd be able to get a job at the age of 12 and keep and basically make an income. So you're basically going into adolescence, and that is when you are taking up more responsibilities. Your parents are gonna start teaching you how to drive pretty soon. They're gonna tell you to manage things in the household. And this is you coming into adulthood. So those skills would most likely be taught at that point.
But then there are associations like for instance, like I'm trying to think of one. You know, one can't come to mind at the moment.
Okay, they offer help, that kind of help to
people? They're like aimed at grooming kids towards becoming gentlemen, men. You know? Yeah. So they possibly, I mean, they'll try to tell you about how you dress. You know, put on a suit, you know, that type of thing. You catch my drift, right?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. So perhaps it's also on those organizations, those associations, you know, people to actually step out and create a link between them and kids out there, and use that link to instruct them, to teach them, to mentor them on how to build their lives, how to manage their money, and so on.
I believe associations like that can only go as far as the people who created them. You possibly might find people don't really aspire to open up a bunch of them around the whole world. You know, they don't aspire to open one up in Bangladesh, you know, in the slums there. To do that, they pretty much want to go as far as a certain extent, as where if it was implemented on a government level, it's sure there'll be schools which aren't the best at doing it, but at least it's being done. This is where like the thinking the thinking can start.
Mm.
Isn't that all that matters? You know, that seed has been planted, so it's gonna grow. But if you're waiting until they leave their parents' homes, college, then isn't it a bit too late for the seed to start growing?
Maybe it's a rat race, you know?
And that's what we're trying to keep the world from being. You know, we're trying to provide people dare I say, the luxury of chasing what they actually wanted to do, as opposed to, man, let me just get a job at this travel agent's. Like, I know I'm really great at sports, or I'm really great at making music, but I need some money. You know, even if you start early, what I would be favorable maybe is parents even start getting the money the kids are hustling for, and putting it away, you know, so that by the time they are finished secondary school, finished college, they have that money to start that business or sustain them long enough for them to start seeing something from what they've been trying to build out of their passion.
But then, you know, resources are hard to come by.
Yes, they are.
And honestly, I think it would be a small percentage of the population that could manage to put kids in a position where they can actually start to make decisions about their money. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, in high school and in primary school, for instance, or maybe even at the tertiary level, you know, students might not have that amount of resources for them to really appreciate what you're teaching them. But then out there in the real world, once they start to see considerable amounts of money, then they learn how to manage that money. Then they have to. You know, like I said about family, they could go for advice to a family member, an uncle, an auntie, a cousin. Just ask them, how do you manage? You know, when you buy groceries, what do you do? When you want to fuel your car, what's your schedule like? You know.
Yeah, that would require initiative.
Yes.
Which a lot of people, I wouldn't say they have, because if they had, it might have been a better place out here.
Initiative.
Yeah.
I guess pretty much that's the reason why, you know.
Another argument for starting these programs at the school level is to deter people away from illegal activity, because I don't know if you've heard about this being a thing in some developed countries. Actually, it's also a thing here. What college students will do is they'll start selling drugs. They'll start selling marijuana. In privileged schools, they even start selling, you know, things like speed and Adderall to help brain function, so people can study better for their exams. And kids end up developing this dependency on these medications. So if something like these classes were to be taught at a basic level, secondary school level, you could also keep them from going down routes which are illegal. Okay.
How about if I ask you to speak about the state of mind of a child who's in high school? You know, are they really going to resonate with the concepts that you're teaching them? Are they going to accept in totality? Are they going to even pay attention? You know.
Okay. Are they even gonna pay attention?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry for the ones who don't, but the ones who do, they're gonna go on to do big things.
I guess so.
But as long as that conversation was had. You know, if anything, as we are growing up from the time we were children, like very early on, we basically move through the world based on the information that we've been given by authority.
Mm-hmm.
Your mom says, this bad, this good.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as you have taught them at an early age, this is bad, this is good, you're an adult, you are going to go into the world, it's all on you now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So maybe the takeaway should be that we should take it on ourselves.
Yeah. We should
the enlightened ones who know just what it takes to survive.
Be well informed.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can make your way through there. All we need is that information, isn't it? Knowledge is power.
Mm-hmm. Once we do have that information, we pass it on.
Yeah.
It should not stay with us.
That way, generations ahead of us, how do you not know how to make money by now?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
It would be impossible. All right, we're running low on time, so let's wrap it up with our final one. This topic request comes from Amanda in Chilanga. I didn't even prepare for this one. I don't know how, really, because this is demanding, knowledge on a very personal level.
Mm-hmm.
But she's asking, does everyone have a soulmate? Oof. Oof.
Soulmates. Maybe mine is in Barcelona. But how do I get there?
She's coming to you.
Better make it snappy.
See if you were taught about money. Soulmate. Maybe we can get the. Let's start off with a definition, right? Because that's how most things can be worked around. So your understanding of a soulmate.
Okay. Basically, it's somebody who was put here on earth, heaven sent for you, in order to be your partner, soulmates. Soulmates, it's like a love that was destined, written in the stars. Somebody who is just perfect for you in every way, shape, size, form. That's what a soulmate is. On the question of whether everyone has one, I don't know. But hey.
Yeah. Okay. Google says a soulmate is a person with whom one has a feeling of deep or natural affinity. This may involve similarity, love, romance, platonic relationships, comfort, intimacy, sexuality, sexual activity, spirituality, compatibility, and trust.
Okay, so that's a very expansive definition. I will admit that I thought soulmate was basically just, a partner in a relationship. But even in spirituality and, that's interesting.
Then there's that age-old argument. Can you have more than one soulmate? Then it's, it sounds a bit less special, doesn't it? And then there's that question. Could your could there become a time when you and your soulmate should part ways?
Yes. I was, do you ever think you have met your soulmate?
You're asking me personally?
Yes.
I'll say yes.
Uh-huh.
I have met my soulmate.
Okay. Maybe. Well, what comes to mind generally is I think there are people who are here on this planet who we're supposed to journey together with in life. Yes. And if you find a person who is perfect for you, and you settle down, you have kids, and you have to part ways, I think that's dependent on circumstances, and that does not exclude the fact, or it does not deny the fact that that person was your soulmate.
I also look at the whole, you got to remember, despite having a soulmate or whoever you believe is your soulmate, doesn't mean that they're not human.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody isn't perfect. They will still make mistakes. You'll still have fights, you have to work. You have to be able to work through all the bad times as well as the good times with them. Just because you know they're your soulmate, you believe, oh, everything is gonna be perfect from now on. Everything's great. Oh no, they did this. They messed up. No, maybe it wasn't meant to be. This person wouldn't have done that to me if they weren't my soulmate. If they were my soulmate. But we're all just human at the end of the day. You gotta do your best.
Yes.
I saw a meme that pretty much outlined different directions that you can take. One of them is being in a relationship is hard, and being single is hard. So all you have to do is choose your hard. Which hard do you want to deal with? And
don't have to be alone, man.
as long as you know that they are fighting for it to work, you are fighting for it to work. And if they aren't fighting for it to work, and you remind them that you are putting in all this work, because communication is key. So if you remind them about working on the relationship, and they say thank you for being there for me, and I know I have been lagging, and thank you for waking me up, and then they continue to put that effort in again, keep working at it with them. Don't just be with somebody because you don't want to be alone. What else can we say about soulmates, man? It's a beautiful thing, spirituality. In a way, a lot of people do go through life meeting people they were supposed to meet. You come across someone who saw that you were interested in something. They wanted to sponsor you through that and help you to get somewhere. But could you say being a soulmate is maybe unconditional? You'd say unconditional, right?
No. I don't think a human loves unconditional.
Ooh. The plot thickens. Everybody on Chilanga converses. Alright, go on. I want to hear this.
There are always conditions attached. Regardless.
Oh, yeah, like you gotta communicate with me as I communicate with you. That is a condition, isn't it?
Yeah. So definitely not unconditional, because like say for instance a parent's love goes a long way, right? But even they reach a breaking point and be like, you know what, I've had enough. You know? Yeah.
Bounce.
Yeah. So if a parent's love could at some point be shaken, then I mean only God loves us unconditionally, you know? You know, that's perhaps maybe I might touch a raw nerve talking about parents, you know. Let me stray away from that. Let me just say that God's love is unconditional, and perhaps a soulmate was put into your life, but you know, God doesn't control all of your actions, so if you stray, that's on you.
You have been cautioned, everybody. Do your best. That's the only advice I can ever give anybody. That can always hold true. Just do your best. Alright. This has been another episode of Chilanga Converses. I hope you enjoy our freestyle conversing segments. Coming up next, we'll do an interview. So stay tuned. We've been your hosts. I've been Mr. Pars. You can call me Sunday.
Malundu, the Kingpin.
Thank you for tuning in. Tuning in. Tuning in. Tuning in. Tuning in. Tuning in. Tuning in.
Chilanga Converses.